Well,
Hello.
back after a very long break.
Very long break. Had a few kind of false starts. Kind of cars breaking down and all kinds of stuff like that. But we're back.
We're back. We've been having a great music session. And we're just going to talk about music that we have been enjoying and that we were listening to last night.
Definitely. Had a lot of catching up to do.
But
we didn't do any of it. We just played what we liked.
We played what we liked. We will name check a few people who, in passing, have passed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very varied session. First record we listened to was this one called The Italian Heist, which is a 1978. I think it is a film soundtrack. Well, I've never heard of the film The Italian Heist. It was released via Super Disco Edits a few years back. Amazing sound. John pointed out, which I had not realised, that Monk Montgomery, who's playing bass, is actually Wes's brother and was the innovator of the electric bass.
One of the very first electric bass players, yeah.
Alongside a fantastic dual guitar lineup of Eric Gale and Wah-Wah Watson, Jimmy Smith on the keyboards and Ndugu Chancellor on the drums. So stellar band. Not
a bad band.
Fantastic band. We listened to the first track on side A, which was called Plutonium Heist, and it has got that sort of more of an early 70s kind of not exactly blaxploitation sound, but it's got a lot of wah-wah guitars, but the actual quality of the recording is 1978, so sounds absolutely fabulous. Yeah.
Sounded not a million miles away from a Dave Grusin kind of soundtrack as well.
Yeah, but with a little bit of a Headhunters vibe.
Yeah, definitely. So went on from that to the Crusaders, who I've been listening to a lot. I think when times are hard, the Crusaders tend to come out. I think,
absolutely.
Actually. And although my personal times have not been hard, the world is in a bad way at the moment. So anyway, this is from Southern Comfort, which I think was either third or fourth. I can never quite work out the order of the Crusaders album. And played the great track off, which is called When There's Love Around, which has a great kind of fuzz guitar introduction from Larry Carlton on here. But it's all round. I mean, basically, I think any of the first five or six Crusaders albums are all fantastic, really.
Yeah.
Just love that music.
Such a kind of warm vibe that comes across.
Absolutely.
And instantly recognisable, actually.
Yeah.
And different from the CTI sound.
Yeah.
Kind of more soulful,
yeah.
actually. Well, John was going to play this record, realised he didn't have it, and then, well, I have got it. And this will be our first record that recognises a great who has passed since our last video. And this is, obviously, you can see Grover Washington Jr. from the album A Secret Place. And the title track features the wonderful bass playing of Anthony Jackson, who really, if you don't know Anthony Jackson, you just need to look at his name on Discogs and start checking up some of those performances. Wonderful. Another real innovator on the instrument. Basically really responsible for the 5 and 6 string bass, I would say.
Also just incredible, really thoughtful bass lines on his.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's my favourite, actually, I have to say. Just, it's always a hard choice, but he might be my favourite bass player, I think.
Yeah.
So we stuck on the CTI label. I went for somebody else who's been playing a lot, Gabor Szabo, and this is from Mizrad, which is one of his 3 CTI albums he made. And this played the track called 13, which almost sounds like it's a version of God, I can't remember what it is. Anyway, it's a great lineup.
World is a Ghetto.
World is a Ghetto. Yeah, almost has the same chords as World is a Ghetto.
Well, it does have the same chords.
Yeah. And the lineup on this track is Gabor on guitar, great guitarist, Hungarian guitarist, who's got a kind of very unique kind of style. Very influenced a lot of people like Carlos Santana and others. Bob James on piano on this track, Ron Carter on bass, and Jack Jonette, of course, who we've lost since we last got together as well, on drums. Massive.
He does a lot of using open strings to kind of create little drony sections.
Yeah.
Very, very distinctive.
Yeah.
Well, this next album is by the Heath Brothers. Only 2 out of the regular 3. We've got who have we got here?
You've got Jimmy and
Percy and Jimmy. I actually played the wrong track, which was kind of okay, but it wasn't really the track I'd wanted to play. I'd wanted to play the last track on side 2 called A Time and a Place in Brackets There Is. But I played something else. But yeah, big bandish sound, very nice bass play, nice cheap album, Cheap Heat.
Yeah, some cheap heat.
Called In Motion.
This is quite expensive heat. This one, but this was expensive heat, but made cheaper because I managed to get a discounted copy of it, which was great actually. This is probably one of my favourite, but also one of the weirdest Miles Davis albums. I mean, it's interesting. It's an album which is liked almost as much by the kind of death metal lovers as it is by jazz fans, I think. And it always sounds very sludgy. This kind of, in a way, even though it clarifies the sound on this MFSL version of this record is massively cleaned up. But it also makes it even sound even more sludgy somehow or other. There's so much weird stuff going on in this record. There are tracks where drum machines suddenly start kick off out of nowhere in the middle of. Anyway, it's from the period with Pete Cozy and Reggie Lucas on guitars, and Michael Henderson on bass, Al Foster on drums, and David Liebman on saxophone, and played an extract from the second side of this album. And it's a kind of once a year listen all the way through in a dark room with a candle. I think this record actually.
And who's M2May's dad?
We were trying. I can't remember. I think it's Jimmy Heath. I'm not sure. It's one of.
So he is a Heath connection.
He is a Heath. Yeah, he's definitely a Heath. Yeah, but I can't remember. So somebody will definitely know which one. I think it's like Jimmy, or maybe it's Tootie Heath. It's not his dad. I think it might be Jimmy. Yeah,
and he was playing percussion.
Percussion on it.
Yeah. Well, this cover is going to really mystify anybody who's not of a certain age and who lives in the UK. This actually is a kind of pastiche of the cover of something called the Radio Times, which still exists.
Yeah.
This looks like it's an ad for Reform. This is, so Radio Times is a kind of TV listings magazine that's kind of legendary. Was mostly associated with the BBC, but now does everything. Anyway, this is from, I think, 1970 or 71. And this is the only album this band ever made. Half of Blossom Toes were in this band called BB Blunder, which is also a terrible name for a band, I think. But Julie Driscoll is here actually as the barmaid. Looks like something out of EastEnders, but a kind of alternative version. And we listened to the track called Sticky Living. I just felt this in a weird way, although it sounded nothing like the Miles, but it was very much from that period where you didn't have to be in a genre. And there was some wonderful free horn playing towards the end of the track. Features the great unsung guitar hero who's called Brian Godding, who appears later on in the session. And a very nice sounding record as well. So BB Blunder, Workers' Playtime.
It's a time when lots of things were mixed up actually, and people were playing cross different, and there was a lot of one-off kind of collaborations, and as well as kind of being set bands as well. Keep people.
It just felt like it was about the music.
Yeah, very much so. And went from BB Blunder to Tortoise, who we saw. We had a great week actually back in was it November or was it in December?
November.
Where we saw Tortoise and the amazing band SML, who we played in the last session actually, I think.
Almost the day after each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tortoise it was just great to see them again, actually. I mean, they're just, in a way, they weren't that different to when I saw them at the All Tomorrow's parties way back. But they're just great band, really. I mean, nobody liked them, you know. To have a band where suddenly you realise there are 3 bass players on stage. And this is from their recent, in a way, they're kind of, if not the daddies of this scene, this whole Chicago, Los Angeles scene, big influence on it. And now, of course, they're actually on International Anthem, and this is from their latest album, which is called Touch, which sounds great actually. And the track is called Organism, I think it is. Organism, yeah. Definitely good sounding record as well.
12-inch single here, with actually something to look at, which is unusual. This is by the artist Blame, who had a strong association with LTJ Bookham and the Good Looking record label in the mid-90s. And I've been mildly obsessed for a while with the sound of that period, particularly another artist called PFM, and obviously Bookham himself. But Blame has been somebody I've only recently discovered. And we listened to a wonderful track called Retrospect, which it's not actually wasn't really a drum and bass track. It was just
That's right.
very soulful and quite melancholy piece of electronic music that I just sounds fantastic. So check out Blame. Check out anybody on Good Looking Records.
Yeah, and for keeping with Bookham, this is Bookham. This is from a CD he gave me, actually. I worked with him on a couple of projects when I worked at the British Council a very long time ago. And this is from his Mystical Realms EP, and played the track called Journey Inwards as well. Just sounds incredibly, well, kind of timeless in a weird kind of way, but also very contemporary, I think.
This turns out to be quite a rare record. This is a reggae record, a UK reggae record from 1984. Interesting. I hadn't realised it was that late in the 80s. An artist called Keith Douglas, track called Frontline. What we actually listened to was the dub on this side, which is mixed by Mikey Campbell, who used to do all the live mixes for the band Aswad, and actually Drummer Zeb is the other mix engineer, and it was a truly monumental, very kind of out there dub version. It's a 12-inch I've had since it came out, and I hadn't played it for ages and was thinking of selling it, and played it, and I thought, my God, it's absolutely incredible. And then noticed it was going for hundreds of pounds on Discogs, so I'm hanging on to that one.
It was almost so radical a dub. It was like deconstruction.
It was a proper deconstruction.
Absolutely taking the whole thing apart. Totally. So we lost Sly Dunbar a few weeks ago as well. So I wanted to play something from Sly. And
it's upside down there,
upside down, sorry. There's basically a whole, my latest show is a big, well, latest but one show has a big section of, and also Mark's show. So we've both done radio tributes to him on our shows. And this was Rocky, just in a way, a typical Taxi release by a band called Struggle. It wasn't even a band, actually, it was a one-off project, I think. And a track called Rocky Music, which is a
lot of syndrums.
There's a lot of syndromes on it as well. Very, and as Mark said, a brutal snare sound.
Yes, it was. Another reggae 7-inch. It's actually, I think it's called Sky Juice, but it seems to be called Not Long Ago here. This is on the Nagusa Nagast record label, and it's the sounds of Big Youth, who was one of the originators of the DJ toasting style, basically where there'd be a reggae rhythm and kind of freestyling over the top, kind of a precursor to rap, really, I guess, in a way. This just had such a wonderful, it felt like a late 60s, very early 70s, kind of rock steady rhythm, with some amazing horn work. We think probably from Vin Gordon, maybe Tommy McCook, I don't know. But yeah, beautiful.
And some bass that sounded like it was coming up from under the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Right, incredibly deep. So somebody else who's a regular on these videos, but also somebody I always love playing, Patrice Rushen, actually. And there's a fantastic, you should check out Pablo Held's interviews on YouTube. And he's a jazz pianist, but he knows so much about so many different kinds of music. And he does a great, very, very long interview with Patrice talking about her music. And she kind of warms to the interview and really gets into it, because he knows so much about all her stuff. And she's a very, very underrated musician, I think, as well as being a great artist. And this is from her album Pizzazz, and played the track Settle for My Love. No, not Settle for My Message. No.
So many good tracks
Keeping
on there,
Faith
John.
in Love, they're all good, actually.
Yeah.
Keeping Faith in
Settle
Love.
for My Love is the absolute
classic. But if you do, I'm sure a lot of people know Patrice, but if you don't know her, you can basically virtually any album is great. Actually.
Yeah, all good. It reminded me of Earth, Wind and Fire, actually, and then I picked out this album by The Emotions, which is produced by Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire, has most of Earth, Wind and Fire featured on it, has that beautiful kind of crisp, very kind of, very kind of coordinated rhythm playing from Fred and Verdine on the bass and drums. And we listened to a track entitled Blessed, but they sing it as Blessed, and it's wonderful, very uplifting. definitely needs some uplifting music at the moment.
Yeah. Great stuff. And keeping it uplifting music, went for the Isley Brothers. And went for the absolute classic, Hope You're Feeling Better Love, actually, which is just such a clever, it's a very beautiful song with the most heavy duty guitar solo from early Isley on any
Extended
record.
guitar solo.
Absolutely amazing. It gets more and more intense and then just suddenly cuts off. And then you realise how great the rhythm behind it is at the same time. Again, you know, Isley Brothers, don't need to tell anybody about them, but any of their albums are just absolutely fantastic, really.
I was telling John I actually heard that particular track sitting in the back of my dad's car, driving back from Cornwall, and John Peel was playing it.
Yeah.
Which seems unlikely, but it was true.
He didn't play a lot of soul and R&B stuff, but when he did, he really, really got into it, I think, as well. Definitely.
This is an album that was very hard to source on vinyl. In fact, John has a good story about it, which I'm sure he will tell us in a second. This is a Vinyl Me Please reissue, which I seem to pick up very cheaply recently. And it's the album by Q-Tip called Kamal the Abstract. And I have to say, as vinyl reissues go, this is particularly beautiful.
God, yeah.
It's a lovely tip-on sleeve with an obi strip and a booklet. And it also sounds fantastic, which is always the most important thing. We listened to the track Blue Girl, and this was the album where Q-Tip was really, well, he wasn't rapping particularly, he was singing quite a lot. Lots of guest musicians, lots of jazz players. And it kind of just really worked. I think in a completely different league for me from Guru's stuff.
Yeah.
In a way, much less self-conscious.
Yeah, much better.
More kind of organic, more true somehow to Q-Tip sound. Really worth rediscovering this album. And they didn't want it out initially, did they?
No, yeah, Arista refused to release it, and I went to a very, very strange party in New York, which makes me sound like some kind of socialite or something.
Was Jeffrey there?
No, Jeffrey wasn't there. James Murdoch was there, though, from the Murdoch. And it was sort of on the Raucous, it was a new release on the Raucous label, which he funded, James Murdoch of the Murdoch family. And there were lots of other people there, and there was a table that was signed, and Q-Tip was selling copies of the. He bootlegged his own record basically and put it out on the street. So my copy is the absolute opposite of that. It's just got a white label with a stamp on it, which says Kamal the Abstract and Q-Tip on there. But it was great, and as Mark said, there's some really good players on that. I mean, people like Kurt Rosenwinkel, who tends to be on a lot of really good collaborations with hip hop. And then Q-Tip produced his album, Kurt Rosenwinkel, at the same time. So they're kind of like twin albums, really, in a way. Good, it's very good stuff.
Wow, we must have. Oh, it's you next, John.
Me next,
I was going to
sorry,
start thinking, how the hell did I go to...
Then we had a break, I think, actually, and came back from the break and I played a track off this second Lewis Taylor album, really. And I have to say, as much as I'm glad that Lewis is still making music, but he doesn't seem to be making anything that quite matches the God, I can't even get any kind of shot of this thing. Anyway, this is Lewis 2, and played the track called Lewis 2, which is just epic.
It is epic, and actually did get reissued on vinyl by Be With Records.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, anyone who hasn't got it.
And it's just records with kind of so many layers to them, also different sections to them as well. Actually, I think at that time he really backloaded it. Maybe that's why he wasn't very popular. Really, but he tended to backload a lot of his tracks. So the big moment in the track came very late on in the track, usually in the last minute or so.
Yeah.
Great artist, actually.
This is an album by Kevin Ayres, who is a local boy to where we are at the moment in Faversham. He grew up in Herne Bay, was a member of the original Soft Machine, coming out of Canterbury, I believe. This is an album that I picked up from Hatters Hall, which is a record shop round the corner. It's called Yes, We Have No Bananas. And I mean, Kevin Ayres, you had a great Kevin Ayres story, John, which
I won't go into full details.
Won't go into the full details. We listened to a track called Blue, and I've also been, as well as looking into the guitar work of Brian Godding, I've also been rediscovering Ollie Halsall, who's another fantastic, sort of very unheralded UK guitarist who played in a band called Pato, amongst other bands. But he was a great collaborator with Kevin Ayres, and there's a fantastic solo, and there's also amazing. I mean, again, I think why I played this was another track which kind of builds and builds, and then ends up with a kind of massive David Bedford choral arrangement at the end. But yeah, very laconic style, Vanairs. Just a real one-off, actually.
A total one-off. I'm not going to just had a weekend. A
lost weekend.
Lost weekend in Sussex, which involved Kevin Ayres arriving at a place I was staying at, which was kind of great, very, very enjoyable, but completely mad, basically. They went for John Lennon. And from an album, it's always been kind of almost it's a very, very mixed album, this. The rocky stuff, the more straightforward rocky stuff doesn't seem to work as well as his more quiet kind of soulful tracks on here. And of course it's got the amazing Number 9 Revolution, which I think is my favourite John Lennon
Number
track.
9 Dream.
Number 9 Dream, of course, which I think is my absolute favourite John Lennon track. And we played the track on this called Bless You, which is obviously very much directed at Yoko. It was a period when they temporarily split up and he went off on a LA weekend. But there's some great playing on this as well. I mean, he didn't go into this album with a lot of set arrangements. He let the band arrange the stuff themselves, actually, and it gives it's kind of loose, very loose, but very nice feel on this track as well. Got people like Jim Gordon and Klaus Voormann and so forth as well. But it's kind of John. Have to be reminded really how great John Lennon is sometimes. Actually.
Oh yeah, I've been reading the paperback of the book John and Paul by that author who John. I can't remember what his name is.
I can't remember. Oh, John Masuri.
No, Ian somebody or other. Anyway,
I know.
John and Paul. If you look it up, it's number 1 in the Sunday Times bestseller book this month, and it's actually a fantastic, proper kind of deep dive into their relationship, but also to the music. And I haven't finished it yet, but it's definitely worth a read, even if you have only a passing interest in that period. But yeah, it's really fascinating. And that, for me, was one of the standout tracks of the session, actually.
Lovely,
It sounded just amazing. And I don't have that album, but I'm going to remedy that. Rory Gallagher. Another guitarist. This guitarist a bit more well known than Ollie Halsall and Brian Godding, but sort of died quite young. I seem to remember in a band called Taste, who you probably saw at the Isle of Wight Festival. John. This is very much just basically three musicians, kind of very raw. I find him. He reminds me vocally a little bit of Peter Green in his playing. Also kind of got a kind of very soulful vibe, and we listened to a track that also featured Rory on alto sax. I had no idea he played alto sax. A track called Can't Believe It's True, worth having a listen.
That was my highlight of the session, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Also got very excited about typography on this as well. Because
we did.
The reason this cover works so well is because the typography is so good.
Yeah.
As well.
Which is by Hypnosis.
Yeah. Then we had another break, I think. Oh, no, we were about to have a break, and then played something with absolutely no information at all on. It's Sam Gendel, the saxophone player, who's featured in quite a lot of our sessions, actually. And this is from a record he made with Josiah Steinbrück, who's a kind of multi-musician, also a soundtrack composer. And it's a track called Serene, minimalist, kind of glitchy stuff, actually, but very nice record, actually, this one. And yeah, that's it. There's no information, nothing at all. A very low print run, I think, as well.
An artist that I saw actually debut this album at the launch of it a few weeks ago was Robert Stillman, who has an association, and I think, plays or has something to do with the Smile, the Tom York band.
I think he toured with them all the time, actually. So he was there. He was their tour support. Yeah.
I saw Robert launch this album just with one other musician. Actually, it was not entirely successful at the Hot 10, but successful enough for me to be intrigued to pick up the album, which I think actually was far better than the live performance, because he does a lot of interesting affected stuff. He's got not a strong voice, but it kind of makes you listen. This album is all about Bill Gates, apparently.
Yeah, the cover was designed by an artist called James Bridle, who I was on a board with actually for a time, who basically tracked all of Not Bill Gates, the Apple guy, wasn't it? It was Tim,
yes.
Tim thingy.
Steve Jobs.
Not Steve Jobs. Tim. I think it was his name. I'll go look back. Okay.
Not Bill Gates at all.
Bill Gates at all. Anyway, it's hand gestures. It's hand gestures used in the video at the launch of the Apple iPhone, basically.
Yes.
And then you kind of tracked them all and stuck them in a computer. Probably says at the bottom here somewhere. We need to give you the right information here.
Steve Jobs.
It is Steve Jobs.
Yes.
Beg your pardon.
Steve Jobs. Album cover by James Bridle, based upon software tracking of Steve Jobs' hands during the 2007 Macworld launch of the iPhone.
So there you go. You needed to know that, really.
You did. I think it's a very interesting album.
Yeah.
And I would recommend it.
I get a feeling he's an artist who's got more to give. Actually,
10,000 Rivers is the name.
Then played a record that Mark gave me, I think, either Christmas or a birthday present 5 years ago now. It's an album by Kiko Nano, and she works on one side of the record with Little Feet, which is not the obvious combination for what is primarily a Japanese traditional record, actually. Must be, I've always listened more to that side, but then I listened to side two, and there's some great, even better stuff actually on side two. And she's a big artist in Japan and also internationally. Also worked with people like Pat Metheny, and this is her first record, and called Japanese Girl. And the track is, I think it translates as Helicopter, which is on the so there's an American side and there's a Japan side of this record as well, and it's it's great stuff actually. I've been really enjoying it. It's got some kind of rocky instruments on there, but also some traditional kind of instruments from gagaku on there as well in the background.
Right, I've discovered a new record shop near where I work in Deptford High Street. I might have mentioned it before. Upside Down Records, very good. I picked this up, a double album by Mike Westbrook, who's another bit of an unsung hero, really, would you say? I mean, if you know him, you know him, but a lot of people don't know him. This actually featured Brian Godding on guitar, who's been a regular collaborator with Mike Westbrook for many years. This album is from 1984, and it's called On Duke's Birthday. And but it has actually it doesn't play any Duke Ellington music. It was just more kind of inspired by the legacy of Duke and the way that Duke Ellington and the way he worked. And we listened to a track entitled Checking In at Hotel Le Prieur. It's a live album recorded at Le Grand Théâtre de Maison de la Culture in Amiens. Sounded very good.
Very good, yeah. I like the way he doesn't actually play any Ellington compositions and just kind of elides them. Really, it really works really well.
And were we saying, John, there was something to do with the sound? Was it from this album? No,
they're just Hat Art records. Have a very, very good. Most of them are live, but they have amazingly good sound. Great pressings, great kind of mastering and so forth as well. And they're still around. I mean, what they've been doing is reissuing some stuff with new mastering from other labels, and which sounds amazing actually. Only on CD, sadly, as well. Evan Parker, who's a local musician around, is a big fan of their records actually, and the sound of them. Then went for a record on Rogart, which is, if you know Rogart, you know all their covers are almost exactly the same, really, and they tend to be one-off collaborations with great artists, really, and this one features one of our favourites, Jeff Parker on guitar. Obviously, we heard him earlier on in Tortoise as well, with Eric Reedus on bass, and Nashi Waits on drums, and it's a record that was recorded quite a few years ago, actually, and only released in very small numbers on vinyl, so I was very pleased to pick up a copy of this, and play the track off which is by Jeff Parker, the guitarist, called Wait, which he actually wrote for Tortoise before he joined the band as well. And just kind of very, if you know Jeff Parker's style, it's very much in his very laid back, understated, but kind of incredibly virtuosic at the same time. And he's quite interesting player.
Yeah.
And usual nice job. They always do great kind of, just nicely produced stuff actually. And they don't put too much stuff out on vinyl, so I was very pleased to get this.
It sounded very good. My last selection was also picked up from Upside Down Records for £2. This is Jim Capaldi, who was the co-songwriter with Steve Winwood for quite a lot of the Traffic material, also the drummer. Not a great album, actually. The early 80s produced by Pete Brown, who went on to do the amazing work with Talk Talk on Spirit of Eden.
Phil Brown.
Phil Brown. Yeah, not Pete Brown, somebody else.
Battered Ornaments.
Battered Ornaments, indeed. But I've thought a very poignant version of one of my favourite tunes, and one of John's favourite songs, which is Low Spark of High Heel Boys, which was a Traffic original. But this is very much with just acoustic guitar and some flute. Mel Collins, in fact, from King Crimson.
Sounded very good. I was saying, I think the worst ever version I heard of Low Spark of High Heel Boys was by Traffic live. They absolutely murdered their own song. It was absolutely awful. Anyway, this has been my favourite record of the last 6 months, and this is Jake Xerxes Fusel. And he's an artist who I only became recently kind of aware of. Made 5 or 6 albums. Really, just very, very straightforward. Great songs, great playing, folky, countryish sounding, but just really, really good stuff, actually. And this is from his most recent record, and I think he's got a new one coming quite soon. Just, I mean, so lacking in pretension, it's almost like kind of just straight, and just seems to be perfect for the times. And I played the track off it called Going to Georgia. This is a gorgeous record. In fact, all his records are gorgeous, actually. So, but this one's been particularly getting me over the last 6 months or so. Really good. And he's touring in the States, for any viewers in the States, with Sam Amidon, who's another favourite show, which has to be the best double bill there is, actually, I should think, for a night out. Anyway, that's Jake.
And that's the end of our session. So, as ever, John and I have hours, hundreds of hours of great recorded radio shows that you can listen to if you click the links underneath the video for the Mixcloud channels. Otherwise, just stay well.
Stay well. Be careful out there, as they used to say on that TV cop show.
Yes. And we will be back. We will be back sooner than 6 months.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care of yourselves.